Okay, being Wednesday, yeah. May 15th, I call the meeting the chairman, acting on the Joe. We'll wait for Joe to get here. Well, Joe's going around, I will state that Chairman Beckerman called and asked me if I would fill in for him this evening as the chairman for the advisory board. He's not able to be here tonight for finance committee due to prior commitment. And I would like to call the meeting to order and read the executive order for remote participation. On Wednesday, March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, enacting appropriation for fiscal year 2023, which includes a 2-year extension of the option for public bodies to hold remote meetings by suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. That action was effective immediately, extending the current option for remote meetings through March 31st, 2025. Votes may be taken on any content listed herein. But call the meeting to order, do a roll call. Chairman Beckerman is absent. Acting in his place, Paul Connors from Randolph. Ms. Surreal.
Present.
Mr. Reardon.
Here.
Dr. Childs.
Here.
I declare this a quorum, 4 of the 5 members being present. FY24 fifth supplemental budget and transfer request with revenue update. Mr. Crum.
Good evening, members of the finance committee. When we met in April, we had a comprehensive supplemental before you for approval, and thank you for your action since then. We have selected a very modest item in terms of quantity, but dollar-wise, it's substantial. It's a $298,000 transfer. That includes one supplemental item. The supplemental item comes from the Norfolk County Commissioner's Office. The Finance Committee may be aware that the county has been catching up on its audits, and our auditor, Markham Auditing Services, has completed the FY22 audit, which is great. We're in a good place. In our conversations with our bond securities company, Stone Consulting, they do our GASB reporting, which complements our audit. We had extensive conversations about the county's OPEB liability. The liability has dropped several $1 million in the last couple of years, which is great. But overall, our contribution on average is approximately $210,000 a year. In order for us to close this liability over the next several years, Stone Consulting estimated the county ought to be looking at $1.2 million a year, something that financially I cannot foresee happening. But nevertheless, I started asking some probative questions about the overall strategy, the overall liability, where the weaknesses and strengths are in our investment policy and so forth. Stone said those answers come in a different scope. They were only hired to perform a actuarial or analysis that get us up to a GASB 74 and 75 standard. In order for us to achieve more in-depth view of our liability, they recommended additional funds to expand the scope. And so we are requesting $3,000 to achieve that goal. My hope is that by the next time we meet as a full body with some time, possibly this September, I may have a report to share with the advisory board about the county's overall OPEB liability and how we can begin strategically and tactfully looking at attacking it for the next several years. So that is the $3,000 request. The remaining portions of this transfer fall to the Norfolk County Agricultural High School. I don't know if Mr. Wallace is with us. I do not see him here. He did provide a very brief update. As you can see, he's moving funds into a variety of spaces to achieve with paving, sped classroom teachers, clerical salaries, and temp salaries. I must admit to you all, I was not prepared to discuss the justification on behalf of the schools. I don't see the business manager, but he did send a brief email. I'll read it to you. Mr. Wallace informed Caroline Tosca that he would
answer most.
write a write-up
yeah.
to be used for the advisory board, but if this is necessary,
Excuse me, John. I reached out to John Martin. He can answer the questions.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, let me just read what John briefly wrote. It was a one-sentence point regarding this $295,000 transfer.
Yep.
He goes on to say, it is necessary as the bidding on our PA system came in well below what we set aside, and there is no way that we are using this money on the PA system at this point. There are many paving needs at the school, but this would allow us to address one of our worst areas. I presume that's the $45,000 item.
That's correct.
John, so the remaining pieces of the transfer in, notwithstanding the surpluses, appear to be going to classroom teachers, clerical salaries, and temp salaries.
Yep.
I'll yield to you if you want to offer
Yep.
insight to the board on what those items are. Thank you.
Yep. The first one on the list, the special ed classroom teacher, was an unanticipated need. We didn't budget for that teacher, and when we reviewed the freshman class that came in, we found that the number of special needs students exceeded what we were capable of handling with our current roster of teachers. So we had to hire a teacher so that we could create new sections of special ed classes to accommodate the needs of those students in their IEPs. The clerical salaries piece is twofold. We wanted to have an overlap between Lauren Seaman, my former administrative assistant, and her successor, Lauren Damon. So we built in time for them to overlap. That went over what we originally had planned for. In addition to that, Lauren Seaman was entitled to a vacation buyout, which exceeded again what we had anticipated. So the sum of that total, the sum of that is $25,000. Temp salaries is again another anomaly in the way things broke down this year. We had 4 parental leave requests this year on the part of teachers. We never budget for 4. That costs approximately $20,000 to $25,000 a pop. So we've had to pay for substitutes at a rate that we, again, did not account for. So those are the 3 items that we're asking to fund that we didn't anticipate when the budget was finalized initially.
Is are the sped teachers, is this a one-time cost, or will this be, do you anticipate this ongoing?
Ongoing. The trend is such that we are receiving more and more applications of students with special needs. We're accepting more students with special needs. So our obligation to provide services that we may not have had to provide 3 years ago, 5 years ago, certainly beyond that, I think is going to remain a fact. And we may be looking at some point in the future to expand that programming, again, depending on the profile of the kid that comes through the door. That we can't anticipate right now, but for example, if we go to a statewide lottery system for admissions, we have virtually no control over who comes through that door. And whatever student comes through the door, we will need to provide services for. So I don't expect that this is an issue that's going to fix itself or go away anytime soon.
And so your budget for next year includes this
Yes.
additional funding?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Comments by anybody?
I guess I would ask a question of parental leave. Is that a trend also? Is that something that's gonna have to be included in the 2025 budget?
You're the doctor.
When I was a middle school teacher, I was told at a certain point that I could not put female teachers in a certain science classroom because for 5 out of the last 6 years, they went on leave. Because they were gonna have a child. I have no way of knowing whether that's going to be a number that remains what we experienced this year. It goes up, it goes down. We have a relatively young staff, for what that's worth.
I mean, I guess I'm asking because in our town, as on the school committee, and the chair of the finance committee of the school committee, and we always budgeted money for parental leave because the demographic of teachers is a high likelihood of using parental leave. So I guess, do we budget that in our 20?
We do budget, we didn't budget for 4 people.
I see,
I think we budgeted for 2,
I see, okay.
which was
So
the average that we had
That's the
looked
average,
at.
the running average, okay.
So in this budget, will you go to 4 or 5?
I'm not sure what's in there right now. I'd have to go double check. I can get back to you.
Just, I mean, I think ours would flow up or down based on the demographic of the teachers
Yeah.
we had employed in the system in that any given year. Yeah.
Joe, question? Anything else? 1 to 10 motion on the supplemental budget adjustment.
I'm going to accept it.
Second.
All further discussion, all those in favor? We do roll call, I guess, because we did. Labra,
Yes.
can I call you that?
Yes, you can call me Barbara.
Yeah,
Yes.
Joe? Yes. Paul, yes.
Okay.
4 to nothing this vote. To support the supplemental budget transfer request.
Yeah.
FY 25 budget discussion and approval.
Good evening. When we met in April, I presented a balanced budget to the advisory board and the associate finance committee, totaling $37,843,235.83. The main topic of discussion during that public comment phase was around the school's funding, as there was a difference between the trustees' vote and what the county commissioners had separately advocated for. We all received a letter from both sides. So with respect to the number I just made, that is inclusive of the request for the schools to have the additional $27,000. Absent that, I don't recall any additional dialogue at that time relative to what was presented. So as such, what was publicly debated and publicly shown back in April is now before you again for your final consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any comments by any of the members?
If the budget is not voted with that $27,000, how are the trustees going to reduce their budget?
Anybody from the trustees?
Mr. Bowden?
Yeah, we don't have a specific plan in mind right now, but finding $27,000 from a couple of different line items would not be accomplish that task.
Any further questions? Okay, in the recent letter from the majority of the board of trustees of the AE school, building reserves has been highlighted. What percentage of those reserves are created by raising the in-county tuition in the communities we represent?
I'm sorry, I didn't know that was a question.
Well, it's gotta be to the school because we're talking about $27,000. So, in the recent letter from the majority, I believe it's this letter here, board trustees of the Aggie School, the building of reserves has been highlighted. So you have a reserve building. What percentage of those reserves were created by raising the tuition of the county students?
The tuition for in-county and out-of-county students was raised, I don't have those numbers in front of me, was raised to offset the $27,000. That was voted unanimously by the trustees.
How long do you think that the communities in Norfolk County are gonna continue to wanna see these tuition raised? It seems to be, it's an ongoing thing, and there's gonna be a point where people are gonna start to say no.
It's a fair question, and it's a topic of conversation that has dominated internal conversations. Particularly this spring, we will continue to dominate conversations as we look to come up with more creative and alternate solutions to this problem. We recognize this is an issue. I could not sit here tonight and tell you exactly what the plan would be moving forward, but it's at the top of our agenda and it's something to take very seriously.
I guess, there's communities in Norfolk County that are laying teachers off. That are struggling at this point. And, you've made the decision to add money to the clerical and administrative staff. I understand, but just because the teachers got that, they were asked to do more work, and that's why they got that additional. And so I guess, people are gonna say, you can say it's not fair, but there are gonna be other people who can say it's not fair the other way. So, and so is this increase going to continue on? In the future?
That's not the plan. We realize it's unsustainable.
I have a question of cost cutting stuff too. I know the letter from the majority of the trustees really talked about all the cost cutting measures that are being done. I just wanted you to explain some of those to us and tell us what cost cutting measures are you doing and do you see that in the 2025 budget?
Not in the 2025 budget.
We don't see any cost cutting measures in the 2025 budget. So what are we referring to? I guess what are we talking about when they're talking about cost cutting measures? What specifically are we doing for cost cutting?
Well, one of the things that we've done traditionally is make sure that, not make sure, but what has happened is that teachers who retire or move on to other positions in other districts are replaced by teachers who are lesser salary. So that was realized. The first time that I just. We are looking at not filling positions through attrition as they occur over the course of the next couple of years. We don't have a firm game plan. I'm certainly not prepared tonight to offer you, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. We just have not finalized any of that.
It just sounded like there was a plan, that's why I asked.
If I could, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, please.
maybe add some, a little history
Yeah.
for the superintendent and for everyone. The trustees took up the issue of tuition increase a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it was for the newer members, something that hadn't been done in over 10 years, shocking to me as a new commissioner, that the tuition hadn't been adjusted in over 10 years. So we commissioned an independent study, I think it was the Carroll Group, I believe, I could be wrong, or Rogers Group. Someone had an independent study to look at our tuition, and it was raised accordingly, and it was actually well received by the towns. I know it myself personally, I spoke to a couple of the towns, and well in advance of town meeting, we explained that we do need to raise the tuition, our costs are going up, and so on. And according to our business manager, who's not present at the time, but our superintendent is, last year's increase as well seemed to be, so I'm going back now, a prior year, we said the tuition would be going up again. It was minimal, but it did go up. And again, we didn't see too much of a pushback. However, I know from the last meeting, and I think our superintendent and our trustees, I think all are cognizant of the fact that we can't keep going up and up and up. We know that. We know that, for example, the state is in trouble. We know that. The towns, we know towns like Braintree and others, we know, Madam Chair, that they're in trouble. And even the county, we're looking at our receipts going down. So I think the message is clear, and I hope the trustees will all agree on this, majority or minority, that we're not gonna be looking to raise the tuition, which means for us to continue, regardless if we're, who's at the helm, we're gonna have to either level cost or reduce cost. And I think Superintendent Martin will be with us in the future. He's gonna be looking at that with the trustees to look at how do we fix our costs? How do we manage to keep the excellence we have, but, manage our costs? There's no question. So I think your point is well taken. There's no question. I don't think we're looking at, turning on, let's keep going back with tuition. We got the message. We're not gonna be able to do that. We have to live within our means. But how we do that, I don't think he has a plan at the moment, but we'll be looking at those things very carefully. We will.
Okay, well, that's really helpful. It's just that, there was a sentence in that letter, which is the proposed FY25 budget continues this responsible fiscal approach of capturing savings and cost control. And that's what I was asking, like, what are we referring to is, I think it's good. I totally support the idea of like figuring out how to do it, but since it was put out, I thought I should just ask what it was.
Well, the author of the letter is here. I did not write that letter.
Yeah.
I'm on the minority at the moment, but if you want to speak to Mr. York, now or later, he can maybe, and give you some insight now as well. But I think regardless, trustee, commissioner, whatever, we all know that we can't keep going back. We heard it at the last meeting. I know Paul wasn't here, but I think it was Walpole and Braintree and other, they're always saying, we enough is enough. We can't keep going up. John, you got that message, So we have to kind of look at now, how do we manage that thing, and again, we're like any school system, the Aggie faces the same thing as I know. I just had a town meeting in Canton, we wrapped it up, special ed. Sometimes you can't control those things. Special ed keeps going up higher and higher. And we may be facing with the lottery system. Who knows what's gonna happen, you could see the demographics and the population, our student population, the needs go even higher. So we're facing challenges, we know that. But as a commissioner, and I would think, maybe speaking loosely for the trustees, we got the message. We have to hold the line on our tuition and kind of move forward. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Fair enough? I think that, I think tonight, I think it's an ideological difference of opinion. I don't look at this as something that's gonna create a huge schism in our board. I have great respect for the trustees. Chairman Shea has said that, we get along, but reasonable people, as we saw today regarding something else, sometimes have difference of opinions. We do. We have a different opinion in terms of where that raise should have gone. We felt one way, they felt another, and then they're making that point. Look, no, but that's where we're at. Fair enough.
There was a surplus generated in fiscal 24 budget.
Yeah.
Was any of that put into the operating budget going forward? Was any put into stabilization? Was any thought given to what to do with that?
Of the surplus? I'm not gonna say exactly, I know the answer to that. I think that could come up with. Oh, here he is right here. I'm sorry. The business manager is here. I'd let him answer that, please. Go ahead.
What's the question?
The money in the surplus of the 2024 fiscal year budget. Is any money been put aside for stabilization or capital improvement? Is it all in operating budget?
It's all in operating, there's an operating fund that we have at the county. If you're talking about 23, right, talking about the past, not 24. 24 is still ongoing, we hope that surplus. Yeah, it just, the way our funds are set up is our operating goes into an operating fund that sits there until the trustees decide to utilize it for anything going forward or to transfer it over into the fixed or the capital. We have two funds, a capital fund and an operating fund. Right now, it's just in the operating fund.
Just when John was talking about the special ed costs increasing, have you thought about starting a stabilization fund for special ed?
They're not specific.
I know a lot of communities have recently started to do that just because of the ups and downs of special ed.
It's a very good point. I know in my own town they started doing that. Something we want to probably take a look at as well. Again, in lieu of what's going to happen, the state is at the mercy of the state because there's a different system in terms of how applicants are evaluated or even selected, you know, we're gonna, I think I said, we're gonna probably be looking at maybe some increased costs in special ed. So, yeah.
John?
Briefly, I would concur with Barbara's remarks about that type of tool. However, I'm under the impression, I could be wrong, but that county government's ability to create stabilization funds is not as free and open as a community. So I believe we have to go through the great federal court for any such approvals if it were to be something we wanted to pursue. So just a barrier there, but we can examine that on behalf with the schools, on behalf of the advisory board and the trustees, if that comes to bear. But just as a point of reference, thank you.
But you know, I'll just say as a commissioner, I think again, we see changes all the time. If the state's gonna impose a different methodology for us to select students, they've got to give us some help. Maybe we can come back and say, amend the law and allow us to create a stabilization fund as well. Now, you're right, I think you're right. Our ability to do that is not the same as a municipality. But I mean, maybe we need to look at that.
Any further questions? Anybody?
I think that's it. Mr. York is one to speak.
We have to be a little careful with our open meeting law issue.
Right.
Because this is not, there's no posting of a board of trustees at the Aggie School for being here, and there may be a majority of the Aggie School trustee board here. So just be mindful of the comments that are made.
I can step up.
We can't have
Good
deliberation
point. Good
of the
point.
trustees of the.
No,
board
you're
of
right,
Aggie.
you're right. You're right.
Point.
So we just
You're
have to be
absolutely
really
right.
careful about
I'm
that.
speaking as a
If
commissioner.
Paul wants to-
No, you
I'm
were
speaking
that was
clearly
fine.
as commissioner.
Yeah, I know that, that's
But
right.
if Paul wants to speak, I can step up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes four, and I.
He's
Yeah.
right, no, there are four, you're right.
All right.
You're
thank
right,
you,
you're
Peter.
right, you're right, you're right.
You want to leave some?
I'll go get a coffee. I'll always go for a
That's
coffee.
right. We just have to be very careful about that.
Absolutely, I totally respect it.
First of all, thanks for the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Peter.
Speak up a little bit.
Sure, my name is Paul Yorkis. One of the things, I've been listening intently to your question. And one of the things that the trustees all said, voted unanimously on, is to establish a strategic plan for the school, which the school does not have at this time. And so the issues that you have raised, we have a number of issues that we want to evaluate with leadership in the school to try and address our future. Some of those activities related to capital projects, deferred maintenance, things of that nature. Some of them are how do we do the absolute best job for the children who attend the school, so that it will be a pretty broad, as I understand it, a pretty broad strategic plan with input from an awful lot of parties. So we have a plan, and as if I may, it's our hope to keep the advisory board informed about what's going on, not just once a year, but to try and provide information about what's going on at the school, and what some of the challenges are, so you're not caught off guard under any circumstances.
Is there funding in this budget for a strategic plan?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's, we had that, and
Thank you.
looking forward to getting that started, yeah.
that was a 7-0 vote.
Rare, believe it or not. but-
No.
Any further discussion by anybody on the finance committee? Commissioners? No. I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented at the last meeting. It did not include the $27,000. Don't we vote? You vote the first motion, Dick?
Shoot.
I'm only asking, I'm not asking them as a commissioner, I'm
Right.
voting classification as a moderator.
Right.
When you make a substitute motion, that motion is the one active. That's correct. Right. It's treated like an amendment, so you act on
So
it.
you have to vote on the amendment first.
Right.
And then take it as a part of the main motion. That's what I thought, but I wanna.
We'll have to repeat all this the next meeting. Okay,
Bill Buckley goes again.
so we're gonna vote on the amendment first?
I'll do 20 years of town meeting. The motion is generally this body's, so you're making whatever motion you want.
Yeah.
It's a motion of
I
the
think-
budget, so it's not a,
Finance committee recommendation.
it's your, yeah, you're,
Make a
whatever you
recommendation.
want.
It's like the finance committee and then you have someone else
Yeah.
make a motion.
So motion would be to approve the fiscal year 2025 Norfolk County budget in the amount of $37,816,235.83, inclusive of a $27,000 reduction in the budget submitted by the Norfolk County Agricultural High School by the Norfolk County Agricultural High School Board of Trustees, provided that in the budget code 104-523500, not more than $7,000 be earmarked for use by the treasurer of the county for legal fees, and not more than $7,000 be earmarked for use by the county register of deeds for legal fees, and provided further. I made that as a form of a motion.
Second,
Discussion, ladies and members? Question, all those in favor, by roll call, Barbara?
yes.
Beth?
Yes,
Were you whispering, Beth?
yes,
Joe? Paul, yes.
so this is. the
So
only
voted on,
recommendation.
voted on the vote. Entertain a motion, to accept the minutes of the April 10th meeting on the open meeting.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor, Barbara?
yes.
Beth?
Yes,
Joe? Paul, yes. Any items that the chair did not reasonably anticipate to be discussed at this point? Does anybody have anything they want to bring up?
John, through you, you may want to inform this board before you get to the other about the July meeting.
yeah, okay. So it's highly likely that we're gonna need another, short, hybrid, advisory board meeting come July 9th for last minute transfers or adjustments to the budget like we did last year. So if people could just kind of hold that in their calendar that they might need to be available, we'll do it hybrid. We'll make it as easy as possible, but we have to do it before July 10th, correct? So it'll be close to the July 10th date if we have to do any last minute transfers, or adjustments to the budget. So the finance committee would obviously probably meet briefly before the advisory board to discuss them, and then we take it to the advisory board.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Mr. Reardon, seconded by Beth.
Second,
All those in favor, Barbara?
Yes.
Beth?
yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Paul, yes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Yes. Anything you got.
What are these things?
Thank you. Take care.
I think we're gonna need everybody for our forum, guys.
You're coming in.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, second time. Bye.
Ricky.
Come on in.
Really nice to see you. Great. Medway is lucky to have.
I'll look for that.
Everybody should. Very lucky to have.
One on the right.
Oh, no kidding. How are you? Where'd you graduate? What high school? No, you both went to Severe? No. Nice. Isn't that great? I did last week, where I was running late, I was stressing out. I was telling one of my buddies, look, he's driving by me, going, call me, say, call me, and get to him. While I'm going to lunch, he said, you gotta go to lunch. No? Find a spot. Yeah. Why not?
Hey, guys.
No, it's not.
Sorry, Joe.
No, now you.
You're not doing good.
You guys take these.
Thank you.
I'll sit over here. So we're allowed to be in?
Yeah.
Have a seat.
He's next to you.
I'll be here. I didn't know we were allowed.
Are we allowed to be?
Yes, we're supposed to be. All right, we can.
It's supposed to be there.
I don't want to. No,
Everybody's good.
Right, okay, let's call the meeting to order, please. I need to read the executive order, which I'm hoping that you all will be able to find for me.
Just give it, if you're on top, heads up.
Bill, are you ready?
Yes, I am, thank you.
All right, let me read the executive order.
Mike and Nick.
The executive order on remote participation. On Wednesday, March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act making appropriations for fiscal year 2023, which includes a 2-year extension of the option for public bodies to hold remote meetings by suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. That action was effective immediately, extending the current option for remote meetings through March 31, 2025. This is a hybrid meeting. Okay, I think we're ready for the roll call. Barbara.
Avon. Bellingham.
Present.
Braintree.
Here.
Brookline.
Here.
Canton.
Here.
Cohasset. Dedham. Dover. Foxborough. Franklin.
Here.
Holbrook. Medfield.
Here.
Medway.
Here.
Phyllis. Milton.
Here.
Needham. Norfolk. Norwood. Plainville.
Here.
Quincy.
Here.
Randolph.
Here.
Sharon.
Here.
Stoughton. Oops. Walpole. Wellesley, yes. Westwood.
Here.
Okay. Weymouth.
Here.
Rentham.
One question, was Walpole here?
No.
Yes, sorry, I'm here. I missed that. Sorry, here.
Okay, I missed that. So 72.96 is the quorum.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, let's do the pledge. John, will you lead us in the pledge?
Sure.
All right.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much.
Please remain standing.
Yes. I think we should have a moment of silence for Steve Feinstein, who died, and one of our member from Foxborough, and he's a great guy. Just a moment. Okay, thank you. Okay, So we have a pretty direct agenda today, so hopefully we'll get right through it. Let's go to FY 24 fifth supplemental budget transfer request with revenue update. I think, Director Cronin, that's you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the advisory board, good evening. When we last met in April, you had passed the fourth supplemental. Since then, we have received primarily from the schools a request for transfers. The county has since also come into a need for an additional $3,000. I'll speak to the $3,000 need, and I will defer my colleagues at the schools for an explanation on the remaining $295,000 transfer. As you may know, the county is catching up on its annual audits as we conclude the FY 22 audit. Our firm that does our securities and GASB investments, Stone Consulting, has delivered the latest FY 23 GASB data, which we'll use obviously for the FY 23 audit. In our conversations with them, we had a conversation about the OPEB contribution made by the county. We contribute on average approximately $210,000 towards this liability, which is currently at around $40 million. At this rate, we will not close the liability anytime soon. When I started to ask questions about recommendations of what type of investments we should be looking at, what type of contribution strategy ought the county consider, the consultant informed me it was outside the scope of the GASB product. We required an additional $3,000 to get a more comprehensive recommendation from them, which I'll be happy to share through the commissioners with this body, so that the county has a full understanding of what this liability means over the long term. So with your approval this evening, we'll endorse the new contract scope modification and have a better understanding of what this particular liability and obligation to us means over the next several years. Madam Chair, through you, if you would like, I would defer at this point to the superintendent to explain the additional $295,000 on the remaining portion of this supplemental request.
Okay.
Yep. First item on the list is special ed classroom teacher. After reviewing the services required of our incoming freshman class, students with special needs, we determined that we needed another classroom teacher in the special education department. So we are requesting that we be able to transfer the money to account for this new position that we had to hire last year. Second item is clerical salaries. My administrative assistant, Lauren Seaman, retired last year in an effort to overlap her tenure with her replacement. We needed to budget certain monies to make sure that there was a successful and smooth transition. In addition, Lauren was entitled to a certain dollar figure with regard to vacation buyout, so that accounts for that dollar figure. And the last one is the temp salaries. Again, we do not anticipate the high level of need with regard to parental leave this year, which is, of course, maternity leave, parental leave under the same provision, as well as other circumstances by which teachers need to take a leave of absence in order to care for members of the family. That's the item on your list.
Any questions? Carl?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Madam Chair, sorry, to Mr. Martin. What's the original budget figure for the temp salaries?
I don't have that in front of me. Mr. Wallace, you got that?
Yeah, no, I don't. It was a significant amount less than we needed. I think it was maybe $175,000 temp salaries for FY 24, the year that we're in.
You have that?
Yes.
Mr. Cronin? We can give you that, Carl, just give us a minute.
Just trying to understand an order of magnitude here.
Yeah, I understand, that's a good question. Give us one minute, we'll get it.
FY twenty-four approved, $192,000. FY twenty-five proposed, $205,000. Increase of $13,000.
Carl?
That's fine. Just note that that's a pretty substantial increase or pretty substantial miss.
There were 4 meetings that did not anticipate.
Thank you.
Peter?
Just one question. The first item that was discussed, the 90,000, is that for one person?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other questions? Rick?
I'm gonna support this. I understand quite clearly why these entries were made here and to close the books, but just on the terms of where the money came from, why would there have been a $100,000 surplus in sped director salary?
That's, I'll answer that question.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
That's because that's covered by a grant.
Okay.
That's how it was budgeted, in the gross amount, but it's covered by a grant.
Any other questions?
Move to approve the request.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, we do have to do roll call votes tonight because we're a hybrid meeting, so Barbara's gonna be busy.
You look low, Madam Chair.
Yes, I was gonna call vote, before I call vote.
Before you call.
Yes, thank you.
The advisory board met
Oh, thank you.
early this evening, and they supported the approval of the supplemental budget. I 4-0 to all those present.
All right, we're ready.
Okay, Avon, Bellingham,
Aye. Nick Mobilia.
Braintree,
Aye.
Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
Aye.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway,
Yes.
Millis, Milton,
Aye.
Needham, Norfolk, Norwood, Plainville,
Aye.
Quincy,
Aye.
Randolph,
Aye.
Sharon,
Aye.
Stoughton, Walpole,
No.
Wellesley, yes. Westwood,
Yes.
sorry,
Aye. Wait a minute.
in Rentham.
Bill?
Hi, sorry, I was muted. 69.79 yes, 3.17 no.
Thank you very much. The motion passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the FY twenty-five budget discussion and approval. As you know, we had our public hearing at our last meeting, and so we heard from the meeting, and you have received some materials. And I think in this case, why don't I start with the finance committee?
Finance committee voted this evening to approve the fiscal 2025 budget in the amount of $37,816,235.83, inclusive of a $27,000 reduction in the budget submitted for the Norfolk County Agricultural High School by the Norfolk County Agricultural High School Board of Trustees, provided that in the budget code 104-523500, not more than $7,000 be earmarked for use by the treasurer of the county for legal fees, and not more than $7,000 be earmarked for use by the county registrar of deeds for legal fees provided further.
Vote on that.
Vote, the finance committee was 4-0 on both present.
Very good. Okay. All right. We have discussion. Okay. Yes.
My name, for people that know me as a advisory board member, I'm also former trustee of the Ag School. I don't know what the hell I am, I'm nervous as hell right here. And I know you's all. One of the things that really bothers me is while I was trustee of the school, yeah, I was a trustee for 17 years. We always felt that if the union got a raise, the non-union would get a raise. And I can understand the theory behind county commissioners and all that, with the difference of the why our union, non-unions start getting the raise. But I feel that the people in the school department, the workers of county in the school department, isn't the same as the employees of the county commissioners society, you know, the down in Devon, okay? I feel that the Aggie is enter the wrong. And I feel that our people should get a raise, because I feel that we're different than the other part of the county, because our jobs are different. We have a farm, we have, you know, we animals that are help is tuned into. We're different than, say, the people that are working down in Dedham that are doing maintenance and stuff like that. We're dealing with livestock, and we have fields that we cut the hay and all that, which is a separate thing. I think it's like you're giving the teachers a raise because they're doing more work. We do more work, and don't misunderstand me, I'm not knocking anybody in the county, but we do more work than the people that say the court system. You follow what I'm trying to say? So my feeling is, when we give a raise in the Aggie school, I feel like when I take two kids to a candy store, I don't give one kid candy, and the other kid not candy. They're all equal. So I feel that if the teachers get a raise, or the union gets a raise, the non-union that's working in the same building, the same property, should get the same raise.
Thank you.
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Thank
I'm sorry, I'm a little screwed up.
No, thank you very much.
You can understand why I'm not a politician.
Any other comments? Yeah.
I asked a question at last meeting about how that 3.5% came about. At the meeting, it sounded like 1% of the 3.5% was actually a work condition change the teachers had agreed to. And then I had a subsequent conversation with some of the folks at Aggie, and I got a different answer that no, it's strictly cost of living. I would make one point: if it's a cost of living adjustment, everybody's cost of living went up the same, regardless of what their job is. So to the extent that we're using cost of living as a true cost of living adjustment, as opposed to what we call raises, then I can see it should be everybody. I came out of the last meeting saying, okay, is it going to be harder for the folks at the Aggie to explain to 39 staff members why they didn't get the same as the teachers? Or would it be harder for the commissioners to explain to the entire rest of the county departments why they didn't get it? And then when I had the subsequent conversation, I kind of went around, said, well, in our town, we try to make sure that our non-organized workers get everything that the unions get, because we basically don't want to have a group of people thinking about getting organized, because it'll make things more complicated. As I tried to untangle that, which I can't do without long conversations with people on details, and it's not worth it. It's a $27,000 chunk of money, which is less than $1,000 for each of the 39. And I'm sensitive to
the director's efforts right now, the budget's not sitting fat this year. So even though I'm saying it's only 27,000, it's not helping you out get your budget in a good spot if you just throw it in there. I came up with one question. This can't be the first time this kind of an issue has come up in the county. And I basically said, what have we historically done? What's the historic way this has been handled? Do the schools actually determine what they get and they've been independent? Or has the county worked to kind of get a uniform cost of living adjustment across the board? Because I can rationalize either one, but I finally said, you know what I really want to know is how we this can't be the first time it's happened. How does this typically get handled?
Yes.
I'll speak first. I know my chairman may want to speak as well. I know, am I allowed to speak?
Yes, you're allowed to.
So just to clarify, and I know it's unfair because one of your members is not here. I didn't really totally understand his breakdown. I thought it was confusing. He was trying to say, well, it's 2% for this and 1% for that. Eric was trying to quantify the thing. As a member of the negotiating team, okay, I was a part of the team. We didn't say we're going to give you 2% cost of living and 1% because you're teaching more. We didn't do that. We negotiated in good faith. And because the teachers were picking up an extra class or extra assignments, or however you want to count it, they had to do extra work. And the union president is here. He'll verify what I was saying. There was something about a shortage of 990 and the state said, you're not meeting the quota. Our principal told us we need to get with it. So we had to do more. To do more work, we felt justified an extra bump. And so we came back with that number and the number was high. Now, I know myself, I'm gonna take a step back. John Conley will know this. For many years, I was a teacher in Canton, not in that now, but for many years I was a teacher. And the teacher set the standard. If teachers got 3, secretaries got 3. Teachers got 4, custodians got 4. That's the way in every town. I know that. I agree. I totally agree. That's usually the way, and it would have been the way here. However, when there was some discussion, and some discussion did take place, they felt, wait a minute, the rest of the county would get a certain amount. Maybe because there's no extra work, we should give those employees the same as the rest of the county. That's as simple as I can make it. I mean, that's as simple as I can make it. I think looking back, we need to kind of change our whole methodology. And I would think in terms of moving forward, there's gonna be some changes. I'm not comfortable with the whole approach. It should be a different approach. And then probably, if I'm on the commissioner, I know I'm gonna negotiate a little differently. I will. We already said numbers are changing. We know that, okay? But I don't know what else to really say. If you want to give the non-union a raise, do it. We're talking $25,000. If you don't, you don't. I know there's no other way to really look at it. There really is no other way to say it. It was given, and the rationale was that teachers were doing more work. And so the number I brought back when I negotiated as part of the team was endorsed. However, later on, when other negotiations took place, those numbers were lower. And that was the way it was. I don't know how else to say it, unless my chairman wants to jump in, or Peter. That's it.
And so historically, the unions and the non-unions at the school receive the same forever. As long as I've been here, that's 30 years this year. And each of the unions negotiates separately. But what happens is when the unions, like when one union cuts a deal, the other unions get a feel for that, and they usually the numbers are very similar. And for this particular instance, because the teachers were working that extra period, that's just in general, right? Because sometimes they work a little more, sometimes they work a little less, but overall, because they were working an extra period, the idea was with this, my understanding was, with this 3-year contract, the teachers got more. And so the first year of the contract, it came back to us with regard to the non-unions getting the same. And the administration, the higher up paid in the administration, voluntarily took a pay cut to put more money into the non-unions who were making less, so that they could actually get the same rate as the teachers. And I came before the board and I voted no. People said, why? Why do you vote no? And it's because it's not fair. I understand what these people have done, it's noble, but it's not exactly fair that these people get more and they didn't work that extra 20%. And it's not fair to everybody else in the county. Last year, with the trustees, the board was set up different, that some people had left the board. And so there was a different vote.
And, the non-unions didn't get that raise last year. They didn't get that extra bump, that extra percentage, but now this year, the trustee board is full. And, the 4 non-commissioners voted to give the non-unions the same rate as the teachers. And the county commissioners voted not to do that. I personally see this as the end of the contract. The future contract won't pay the teachers more because they're working 20% more, because it was a 3-year deal. So I would assume that next year, the non-unions would get the same as the teachers here at the school. Obviously, no votes have been taken, but I just assume we'll go back to past practice. But this is a different 3-year window that was rewarding the teachers for having worked more. And separate from that, but part of this is the school had building needs, and my personal hope was with the increase in the tuition and with these savings, we could start fixing the buildings, because the buildings have there are 4 leaks in roofs, and then an entire roof needs to be replaced. But to fix the 4 leaks roughly is about $100,000. I was hoping to fix a leak with this $27,000. And I'm not trying to take it out of anyone's pocket. I'm just asking them to be fiscally responsible with a plan to fix the building. And instead it became salary. So that was how I came to this. And I had talked to Mr. Little. He was concerned about this, and I said, speak your piece. And that's all any of us really wants to do.
That's right.
So thank you.
Yes, please
Just
follow
a
up.
quick follow-up. Did you say that the non-union employees also didn't get the same increase last year?
Last
So
year.
This will be a second year.
Yeah, last year, yeah. So the first year they got it, because the higher ups in the administration gave up their money. And last year they did not. And this year it's before you. But no other union or non-union in the county received that extra 1%, except for the teachers from that contract.
I'm sorry, Chairman, yes, Chair.
To support what my colleague said, I want to tell you that we break down between the 3 of us, who negotiates with who, and Richard, lucky as he is, and talented as he is, we're given the teacher contract. And Peter and I handled the other contract, which is the maintenance workers, the registry of deeds workers, and and the engineers. These are all in 3 separate sections of an, is it AFSCME they represent? Of AFSCME. During our negotiations with the registry workers, the maintenance workers, and engineers, they knew all about the teachers. There's no secrets, and that's fine. And they said, and I explained that they are taking on additional responsibilities, et cetera, et cetera. They said, is anyone else getting any more? And we said, no. They signed up. After everyone signed, the non-union people in the school has the largest amount of non-union people by far. There may be 5 in the commissioner's office, 5 or 6 in the treasurer's office, and certainly department heads, which are different. Same thing came up. They settled. The non-union was given the amount that they got there. The teachers signed and they settled, and then this came up last year. We did get, actually trustee Parrish was with us through that, and then we got 3 new trustees all at one time this year, in 2024. They're very knowledgeable, they're very enthusiastic, there's no question about it. During that period, it seemed to slow down. We were always under the impression that no other additional money would be given except to the teachers, and we promised everybody else in the House this contract, no additional money be given. That's the reason, I guess, for the 4-3 vote, and I certainly, and I worked with Ed Little, like 8 years that I've been here, and I understand exactly what he's saying. We all
I think I got into this discussion 4 or 5 years ago when the budget discussion started to get a little more rancorous than it used to be among ourselves and other department heads. And I remember giving an impassioned speech up at the golf course for the Aggie school. Now it seems like I'm not, now I think people think I'm not an advocate of the agricultural school. We have to look at the whole picture. I cannot argue with anything in Ed, I know right where it's coming from, we talked about it many times over the years, Ed was the chairman, and I understand. This is a special place. But we have an obligation to everyone, let alone obligation to the cities and towns. 27,000 is not a lot of money, there's no question about it. And we work in the future to make it up, perhaps, but until we sit at that table, anything else you get involved in is conjecture, until you give your word at that table. We gave our word, no one else was getting more. That's how it come down to this, as far as I can see it. I understand everyone's argument, I really do, but when 48 people at the registry of deeds say, okay, we're ready to go, but you're gonna tell us that this is it. No one else said, I said, yeah, this is it. When the 5 engineers come in, when our 48 or 9 maintenance men come in. Believe me, they all know. 1 year the maintenance men got an employment, 1 year the maintenance men got uniform allowance. Don't you think the registry workers asked me for a uniform allowance? And they were, I didn't tell the women at the registry of deeds, and they're not all women, but it's probably 80% women, the 49 people, probably 80% women. That maintenance men are different because, that's where the rubber hits the road. Hopefully we have reasonable people doing reasonable things, and that's the way it came out this year. In the past, I never experienced this. It's particularly about this, so I did making this promise that no one else is gonna get any more but the teachers. And I don't know how else to explain.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So, Madam Chair, through you, I have high confidence in the negotiations, so I think all that is perfectly reasonable. Is there anything that precludes, like 6 months down the road, if budget conditions change, if there's attrition in some of the positions or things like that, at that point, could the superintendent and those charged with the direct administration of the salary say, hey, you know what, maybe that there is a little bit more room in the wiggle room, the roof didn't cost as much, we thought it was gonna cost 100, it cost 50, and maybe we can go back to the commissioners and the Norfolk County Advisory Board and see about some additional funds. I mean, is there anything that precludes that from happening?
I think you have to bring up in the contract negotiations.
The contract, maybe it would be, but I think your question also gets to another question, Victor, which is a really good one, which you asked at the finance committee, which Barbara, actually you asked, which was about the 27,000. I think that's one, I think that question is worth being asked again, because I think it's the same one you're asking, just in a slightly different way.
Yeah, I asked in the finance committee, if the $27,000 is not approved tonight, how are you gonna adjust your budget? And they gave me no indication that it would be difficult to do, so.
It was possible to do that.
It was possible to do.
Fund the 27,000, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you. Just through you, more of a technical question, and I don't know the answer. I know how it works in municipal government, I'm not sure on the county side. Chapter 70. How does the Chapter 70 go to the Aggie? Does it come through county treasury, or does it go directly?
It's directed to school.
So in the appropriation that's made tonight, the appropriation is strictly a county appropriation, exclusive of Chapter 70?
Inclusive.
It's inclusive of Chapter 70. The Chapter 70 that was estimated at the Governor's House 1,
That's correct.
Up to, I should say.
That's correct.
So any increase in minimum student aid or whatever the student aid number is would be an increase to the school budget at that point.
That's right.
So the next question then would be the determination of actual cost of living raises for non-union personnel is strictly a vote of the trustees.
Essentially, yes.
All set, thank you.
And to that point, John, correct me if I'm wrong, based on current Senate Ways and Means expectations of cost, the schools would be up over $18,000 beyond the benchmark that's in this budget. Is that correct?
Would definitely be up, but I don't know the number.
Calculated it earlier. That's our number, 18,505. We won't know that to be true as you know, Michael, until sometime in June. So there's some favorability coming.
Through you, based on a comment that Commissioner Collins made, is there a 5-year capital or facility plan for the Aggie? I know each of us, like in my community, we have and I appreciate what was said earlier, there's a strategic plan about to be developed, but is there an actual, this roof's gonna get done this year, we're gonna get this vehicle, we're gonna get these equipment items?
We do not.
Is that something that the Aggie is exploring, looking at?
Yep.
Because that obviously is part of any type of deliberation of additional funds at any point in time, which is, while the human piece, the personnel piece, is obviously a massive part of the resources, so is the plant itself. And directing funds in that direction is almost as important in dealing with the personnel side. Thank you.
Sean.
So a little bit of insight on the capital side. The Aggie traditionally, my experience, has lived off of the county's multi-year capital plan. In fact, in FY24, they've received some funds towards certain capital improvements. As you may know, Michael, I announced there won't be any capital plan at this point for FY25, given the reduced projection of revenues. However, in normal years, that capital plan for the entire county is somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million, which is not a lot. It's also my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, John or Rick, that the county has the agricultural school has a separate capital stabilization account where they could move money that is deemed to be surplus to build towards their own capital needs. I don't have any personal information relative to what that balance might be. I've been told by our county treasurer who's on the line that it's approximately $100,000. I have not seen any activity from the schools to place any year-end surpluses in that direction, but I also don't think that there's anything other than some votes of the trustees that would prohibit that from happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? I'm sorry, Bill.
Councilor Ryan.
Oh, Charlie, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just wanted to chime in and say that Braintree is currently facing a severe budget shortfall. We have to ask the residents to vote on an $8 million override. We might be laying off 90 positions in the school department. We're facing very difficult times. I'm here on the Norfolk County Advisory Board representing the town of Braintree. I have all the respect and admiration in the world for Ed Little, and I thank him for all his dedication. But I agree with the commissioners who have to negotiate contracts with all the unions in the county, and they negotiate in good faith. And when we say that this is what everyone's getting, that's if we don't do that, that's really not negotiating in good faith, and that sends a very bad message. So I am going to be supporting the budget minus the 27,000. I respect the board, the trustees from the county agricultural school, but I think they just have their view only of the school, and we need to look at the entire county, and I think it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, of course, yes.
I've been sitting at this table since 1989, with the exception of 2 years that I got knocked out of here. And I voted probably every time for the county budget. With the exception of a few years that I abstained. The reason I abstained was because I had somebody working for the school. So I didn't want to vote for the school budget. But I really feel that the union, the non-union people at the AD school deserves this raise. And if I was still the trustee of the school, or chairman of the school, I'd be fighting like hell for it. And I would like to, if I don't know if I can make an amendment, but I would like to make an amendment to leave the $27,000 in there, I'll put it back in there.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna need a little help, parliamentarians around the table, there's so many of you.
Somebody's gotta help
So
me.
many of you, so the first one,
Make an amendment to
all
the main
right, so
motion.
we have a main motion,
You want me
which
to-
is made. I think we need a second on that main motion, I don't think we got a second.
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, so now we've got an amendment to the main motion, which is from Mr. Little. Is there a second to the,
Someone did.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Matula seconded.
No, I
he seconded the main
Connor's
motion. We have a second to Mr. Little's amendment to put back in the 27,000.
I'll second it.
You'll second it, okay? All right, so we're gonna take the vote first. Parliamentarians, help me out if I start misstepping.
Sure.
We're gonna take the vote first on the amendment, and then we'll take the vote on the main motion. Okay, I'm learning, you know, all you attorneys, it's like I'm getting it. Put a doctor in charge, you just have to get the attorney stuff right, okay. All right, so I guess we have to do roll call. Barbara, okay.
Give me a minute, please.
I'm sorry, who did I miss?
Phil
That was Phil. Just let
Okay,
me
Phil.
say Phil.
We're taking a vote on the amendment.
To make it the main motion. I'm
To-
so sorry, point of information. So the amendment is to increase by 27,000 the budget.
Right.
For the,
From the motion that Mr. Connors made, which
Right.
was the budget without the 20.
sure, but for the agricultural school non-union employee raises.
Okay,
Okay,
yes, okay.
just so I'm clear on.
All right. Bill, did I screw up? We got it.
I think you have to vote to make it the main motion first, but.
No. First you amend the motion.
Okay.
The amendment or substitute motion gets acted on first. He's doing it right.
Okay.
You take the amendment is off on Mr. Little, same procedurally,
Yeah.
I'm saying what to do. Take the amendment up, you vote the amendment. If the amendment passes, that is the budget. If the amendment doesn't, you go back to the main motion and vote that.
Yeah, okay.
That's all.
All right, so we're voting for the budget inclusive of $27,000 for raises for non-union personnel at the agricultural school. And Barbara, I think you're, Phil, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. Avon, Bellingham,
No.
Braintree,
No.
Brookline,
No.
Canton,
No.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
No.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Yes.
Medway,
Oh,
Millis, Milton, Needham, Norfolk, Norwood, Plainville,
No.
Quincy,
No.
Randolph,
No.
Sharon,
Yes.
Stoughton, Walpole,
No.
Wellesley is a no, Westwood,
No.
Weymouth,
No.
Rentham.
Give me 2 seconds, please. I have 60, all right, let me do this again. So 68.94 no and 4.02 yes.
Okay, so the amendment fails.
Right.
So now we are going to vote the main motion, which Mr. Connors gave at the beginning. And we had a second on that from Peter from Franklin. Okay. All right, I think, are we ready for the vote, Phil?
In 1 minute, I'm just putting my correct label on this. Yes.
Okay. Avon, Bellingham,
Yes.
Braintree,
Yes.
Brookline,
Yes.
Canton,
Yes.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Yes.
Medway,
Yes.
Millis, Milton,
Yes.
Needham, Norfolk, Norwood, Plainville,
Yes.
Quincy,
Present.
Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon,
No.
Stoughton, Walpole,
Yeah.
Wellesley, yes. Westwood,
Yes.
Weymouth,
Yes.
Rentham,
Phil?
What was Quincy's vote? Did they say present? Like,
No vote.
Yes, they did say present.
Thank you.
all right. I'm sorry, could we run through Randolph? Run through Sharon to the end again, please?
Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon,
No.
Stoughton, Walpole, Wellesley is a yes. Westwood,
Walpole's a yes.
Yes.
Weymouth,
Yes.
Rentham,
I think those are Walpole, yes, Westwood, yes.
yes.
That's correct, just making sure.
That make it, got it?
I think
Is
that's-
that clear, Phil?
I just wanna check, Norwood. Okay, I have 59.73. Oh, wait. Okay, 59.73 yes, 5.21 no, and 10.94 present.
Okay. Motion passes and carries. Thank you very much, everybody. One thing that is pretty clear about this, the school budget issue, is I think that we really need to have an understanding of the school budget that's more complete for the advisory board. So my proposal, and I was gonna work with the director on this actually after this meeting, is starting this summer to appoint an ad hoc committee that will include school personnel, commissioner's office representatives, and a couple advisory board member representatives, almost like an ad hoc committee to really understand and dig into the school budget so that we don't end up in a situation again, in a year from now, where we're voting and we're trying to pick between the county and the school. That's just not a good plan. So, I hope people are supportive of that, and I will let people know a plan once we have one written out, and Sean, you and I are gonna work on that.
Sounds great.
So we'll get that started this summer, and we're looking forward to working with the school on it, and, the commissioner's office, and I'll probably tap a couple of you. Yes, Rick, please.
Madam Chair, if I could just comment and give some background as to my no vote.
President.
President. As most of you may know, I was the business manager here at the school. And I took the time to meet with the director, Mr. Cronin,
We already voted on this.
Mr. Buckley, and I also met with the superintendent. And my question to them was, my first opening question was, or remark was, how did we get here? How did this item get to the level that its head has reached? Because my experience as a business manager was that we worked very hard at creating a relationship with trustees, county commissioners, advisory board. And we made efforts to do that throughout my tenure. So that meant that by building that relationship, we had many conversations about items that we felt as a school were valuable additions or subtractions or whatever you want to call it. Personnel was an important piece of that. And to Mr. Little's point, there were meetings of trustees where we had such a relationship going that we as administrators did not have to, in some cases, raise the question about non-union raises. It was raised by a trustee in favor of it. He can remember some of those times. And my only point here is that when I met with both bodies, I said, listen, when things like this arise, it's really up to you. We were always told as the county goes, the school goes. We always played that mantra. And that played into building that relationship with these bodies. So I sat here and I wondered tonight, again, why there hadn't been some work done behind the scenes. Now, someone told me in those meetings, I got responses like, well, we've had those conversations, but they didn't seem to go anywhere. We talked about what the value of non-union people were at the school and how important it is to retain them and not lose them. But I didn't hear any answers. So I'm here to encourage both the county commissioners, board of trustees at the school, administrators at the school, to work more collaboratively, to have conversations so that an item like this doesn't come up where, you know, you say to yourself, am I gonna die on the vine here over $27,000? I mean, that's not the work of this body, in my view. That's small potatoes, as I think you indicated. So I'm only gonna suggest, and I think your suggestion about creating an ad hoc committee would be wonderful. I think it also would speak volumes to the school to know that this body is interested and wants to help. And I think the school should be just as excited that this body would take the time, again, as volunteers, take the time out of their busy days to work on a program like that. So I'm fully supportive of that. And please, in the future, let's work together.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. All right. We're moving on in the agenda. The next item is about an advisory board county email conversation. I think you're up on this one, aren't you?
Yep, it's me.
Okay.
I'll keep it very short.
All right.
Sorry for standing here and trying to minimize people who have to look at my back. So earlier this year, about a year ago, we gave everyone at the county who didn't have a county email address, a county email address. And the reason for this was to stop people from getting work email at a personal email address. And the reason for that is because it's a best practice. And there's two reasons behind that best practice. The first one, the most important, is that if the county or the registry of deeds ever gets in a legal fight with someone, there's this concept of e-discovery, where plaintiff or lawyer or somebody, they need to see all of your emails and your emails. And if you're getting work emails at your personal email address, the lawyer can get all of your personal emails. Anything that's electronically stored information, ESI. So we didn't want that to happen, so everybody now has a work email address. The second thing is that it becomes easier for someone, if they're looking for a work email, to just go to a work email account and see all of their work emails instead of going, all right, I've got 8,000 personal emails and I'm looking for 4 work emails and I can't find it easily. I don't know what to look for. So it becomes much easier for you to find your work email if it's at a work email address. So I don't need to vote on this or anything tonight, but I just wanted to run it by you folks as the advisory board members that we can give you a Microsoft email address, Norfolk County Advisory, but I don't know what you call it. It might be NCAB, Medway, NCAB, Quincy, whatever it is. You would look at it. I don't know how many meetings you have a year for, 5 maybe. You look at it on some standard amount of time, you find your budget information, whatever the agendas are, you just go there. To get to a Microsoft email address, all you need is a browser on your computer, your laptop, your iPad, your phone. On your phone, you can have an Outlook email application. Just go in there, check it out. It'll all be there for you. And you don't have to worry about some lawyer getting into whatever texts or emails you have with anybody else on a personal basis. Just make sure I covered everything. Oh, it's a minimal cost per year for us to supply this for you. It's only $1,500 or so unless Microsoft gets super greedy and jacks it up. But that's no problem for us. Makes it easier for you, for us, everything else. So we could get this in place before your meeting in September. And we just wanted to run that by everybody, see if I could answer any questions for you.
Reactions?
Madam Chair, if I could, so as an appointed member who serves at the pleasure of the mayor, on behalf of the town of Weymouth, it's an absolute non-starter for me. The last thing in the world that I would ever want is another email address. Everything that's disseminated to every single one of us is public record. So there's absolutely no reason ever for any lawyer to say I need to go through your emails because of your Norfolk County Advisory Board activity. So while I appreciate that, I will politely decline.
You have the option to forward it, which we can help you with, to your personal email address.
I don't want one. I don't want, absolutely don't want one. I will pay the $1,500 and not do it. So
It's, we can't force you, it just.
correct, exactly.
It's,
That's exactly it. No, you said it perfectly and I have no further comment.
Okay,
Madam
Carl,
Chair, I vary from the gentleman from Weymouth, I support it.
you support it, okay, all right, John.
Just one distinction, I think as Sam started to explain it, Victor, I'm gonna imagine in 10, 15 years, you may not be the designee from the great town of Weymouth, but the way he's trying to set it up, all of the content relevant, see all. Potentially, we're looking at a scenario where all of your individual community contact information will reside. So there's nobody calling saying, hey, where's that FY24 budget? Where's the information relative to the supplemental? Where's the information relative to my town? All of that is now stored there for you and or your successors. And I think that's an important part of this. We're trying to give you all better information seamlessly. And I respect your remarks, but I would quibble with the notion that if you believe that we just push public information to you and that's where the attorneys can go, I politely disagree with you, because if you respond from your personal email, they want to see your full email, your inbox, Victor. So you are exposed, but that's just my opinion. You can speak to your attorney about that.
That's fine. I'm happy to, there's nothing in my email that I wouldn't be happy to have on the front page of the Globe or.
There's a famous quarterback who played for the Patriots that had the same opinion.
Please.
Madam Chair, what would the board members have to do to get the count set up? Would be
I think
remotely or?
we would do it for you.
No, we'll take care of it for you. And then we would let you know what your password is.
I did take the prerogative to call Scott Lopez, the attorney, our attorney, Commissioner, but I did spend only 5 minutes asking him a question. And that was, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? And he said, this is not a good idea. He says, this is a very, very, very good idea. That was what he said. He said, I would say that to anybody. So I think that's his opinion. Yes.
Just through you, I've spent quite a bit of time trying to block Buckley's emails from mine.
I deliver it, yes.
He now comes in the house.
I do.
Thanks, Mike. That's okay. Okay. It doesn't mean we're going to increase the number of emails we're sending. All right. Okay. Any other comments or questions? I mean, obviously, nobody can be forced to do it.
Yeah, it's a setup, you don't check it.
Yeah, it's totally.
Yep.
Yeah. Everybody, it will be voluntary. Oh, I'm sorry, Mary Ann.
Yes, thank you. I agree with the comment that was made earlier relative to not wanting another email address. You know, my emails from you folks go to my town email account. I assume that's true of probably most people. So I'm able to keep track of it that way. If we are to go this route, I might suggest that perhaps emails be timed in some way. I'm not going to be checking this email daily, but perhaps the 1st of the month or the 15th of the month, something like that, where we might all diary to check it. a couple of times a month, seeing as the communications are pretty infrequent. So just a suggestion in that regard. Thank you very much.
That's absolutely correct, yeah. I mean, I don't know how often stuff is sent out now, but we would anticipate you just check it on that sort of basis.
On a time basis.
And further to that point, as Mary Ann pointed out, if she has a public domain email and she wants the county emails to go to that space, that's fine. In fact, if Victor says, oh, you're gonna send stuff there, point it to, it's my one email that I will love you for the rest of my life, we can do that too. But when you're gone, that email from the county to your community is still there. And the next person can have a different choice. So it achieves both ends.
Yeah, forwarding is easy to do, so we can set up customizations for you, but creation of the accounts is what we're hoping, so that your personal stuff doesn't get sucked in.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, is there consensus that we should do this? I mean, some people are obviously not going to do this, but that's okay. I think not everybody has to, right? We can.
Yeah, well, we'll set up the accounts.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk with you and figure out the best way for that to work for you.
Can we just do
And
this
then
by
we'll-
consensus rather than a formal vote? Maybe like everybody, put the hands up if they like the idea. Hands people. Okay, hands people. All right, the no people, we've got some no's. Okay. So
Well,
it's not really formal.
you have to have a computer now to get the emails.
Right. Okay, all right. I think we're gonna do it. That's
We'll let
good.
you-
Yeah,
we'll let
we're
you
gonna do
know.
it.
Thank you.
We're gonna- It's definitely up.
Randolph's still working on that.
Okay.
I can't say it.
Okay, all right. Let's get through this agenda, everybody. Minutes of the open session meeting of April 10th, 2024. Anybody want to make a motion? Thank you. Second? Second. All right, Randolph, motion and, we have to vote. Yeah, all right, here we go. We have to roll call.
Okay.
Any conversation, discussion?
Phil, are you ready?
I am ready, yes, thank you.
Okay, Avon, Bellingham,
Abstain.
Braintree,
Aye.
Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
Aye.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway,
Abstain.
Millis, Milton,
Aye.
Needham, Norfolk, Norwood, Plainville,
Yes.
Quincy,
Aye.
Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Stoughton, Walpole, Wellesley, yes, Westwood,
Abstain.
Weymouth,
Abstain.
Rentham.
We have 63.18 yes and 11.82 abstaining.
Okay, the motion passes. All right, there were no minutes of the executive session meeting of September 13th, 2023. We did not have an executive session that night. We just, I think it's got on everybody. Correct, Bill? Am I right?
It was on the agenda, but then you.
It was on the agenda. We did not need it, so we didn't have it. Okay. I have no emergency items or topics that we can discuss. Is there anything else that needs to come up in an emergency way?
Move to adjourn.
Second, one question to me, and I'd say that he was sitting right here. Is it me, or did the meeting go a lot quicker and smoother? And I've known the gentleman for 25 years, that the representative from Dedham's not here.
He was on for like 2 minutes.
And I'll call him and tell him I said it. He's a dear friend of mine. If I don't take a shot at you, it means I don't like that.
Thank you.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, I do have a quick last point, item that was not on the agenda. So I did recently have the opportunity to golf at President's Golf Course. It was amazing. I'm a terrible golfer and the course is worse off for me having been there, but I would highly encourage everyone to avail themselves of this great resource. Thank you, Madam Chair.
That's right, and we might have a September meeting here. So, yes, thank you so much. We don't need to vote the adjournment.
We do.
Oh, we do. I'm sorry, we do. Everybody hang tough.
Okay,
All right.
Avon, Bellingham,
Aye.
Braintree,
Aye.
Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
Aye.
Cohasset, Dedham, Dover, Foxborough, Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Yes.
Medway,
Yes.
Millis, Milton,
Yes.
Needham, Norfolk, Norwood, Plainville,
Yes.
Quincy,
Yes.
Randolph.
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Stoughton, Walpole, Wellesley's yes, Westwood,
Aye.
Weymouth,
Yes.
Grantham.
Unanimous.
Thank you all. Just be aware, July, we may have to do this hybrid meeting. Be prepared for July 9th meeting to vote any last minute supplemental transfer. All right.